Hello there. If I were to ask you what you are finding the most frustrating about this time of isolation and separation, what would be your answer? Is it being unable to leave your home for any length of time? Is it being confined with several or certain members of your family? Or is it having to be isolated on your own? Is it not being able to spend time and go and visit your family and friends? Is it not being able to go to certain places or do certain things? Perhaps you find it frustrating seeing others not obeying the rules on social isolation. Maybe you are missing your mates and colleagues from work, although you probably won't tell them that. I know that at different times we will have different feelings about the most frustrating aspect of this pandemic. That is certainly true for me. My wife and I, we were due to go to Prague on a short break just as the pandemic started to take hold globally, and so it was cancelled just 2 days before we were due to fly. So that's a regret, we weren't able to go somewhere we've never been before. But we also miss seeing our daughter, and we miss our parents as well, who live some distance away from us. We also miss socialising with friends, and so it goes on. We can effectively make everything about isolation and being limited by this isolation. But rather than focusing on that isolation, we should focus on something else instead. And I've just got a little effect here to show you. So I have a empty glass and a piece of paper that says isolation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw that paper up like so, and I'm going to light it and pop it in the glass. So here we go. That was impressive. When we take the paper out, it's now looking rather charred, we see that it says communication. And so rather than making our thoughts focus on isolation, but maybe we should focus on communication. And with all the technology that's available to us, we can communicate with others much easier than we used to be able to. So that we have our phones to call or text. We can make video calls as well as use email or letters. 30 years ago, I was at university, and that makes me feel really old, but I was going out with Zoe, who's now my wife, and there was no email widely available, no mobile phones, or even landlines were charged expensively by the minute. So my wife and I, we literally wrote letters to each other every other day. In fact, I was being given postage stamps for my birthday and Christmas presents. In any relationship, communication is vital, whether it's with your partner, your children, your parents, with friends, colleagues, or with the chain of command. In the last video message, I talked about how we should treat others as we would like to be treated, and that applies just as much to how we communicate as well. Here are some more wise words from the Bible. Let everything you say be good and helpful, so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. When we think about how we speak to those around us, our partner, our children, our parents, our friends or colleagues, would we be able to say that we are saying good and helpful words that are an encouragement? Now, that does not necessarily mean that we have to be saying nice things or positive things all the time, because there is a time and a place for correction. So, for example, I went skiing for the first time in February this year with my regiment, and the instructors sometimes had to say to me, don't do it that way, do it this way, in order for me to develop. So although that was a negative, because it was about something I was doing wrong, it was in order for me to improve. Similarly, when I had to correct one of my children, it should be to help them either to be safe or to be developing as a better individual. It is a challenge to be effective communicators, but even more of a challenge to be an encouraging communicator. I know I don't always get it right, just ask my wife, but we should always aim to be lifting others up with our words rather than knocking them down. So I and we all need to speak to others as we would like to be spoken to. I hope you find those words useful. Take care and hope to see you again soon. Bye.